What's up, Ramblers? I know you want to get into today's podcast, but real quick, make sure you're keeping up by following Assistance HQ and Offsource HQ across all platforms, anywhere on all social medias, to keep up with all of the latest content, updates, exclusive, and everything else. And for business owners, visit offsource.tech for all of your office outsourcing needs, a virtual assistant for every occasion. All the links are in the bio, so go check them out right now. Now, here's your podcast. Before we begin, a moment from our sponsor. Hey guys, welcome back to another wonderful episode of The Ramblings. I have with us another wonderful guest, Ruby Figueroa. She is a travel agent, the very first travel agent to be on this show. And as you guys know, I am an absolute lover of travel. You guys know that I've been multitudes of different places out of the country and everywhere. And so, Ruby, you have the floor. Introduce yourself.
Hello, everybody. And as he says, I'm a travel agent. Angelo says, I'm a travel agent. I have been in my own home based business for 50 plus years. So that tells you that I'm probably a bit older than more of you than listening. I am 80 years old. I love to travel. Travel is my passion. And I didn't begin my home based business in travel, but I started it as a demonstrator of household products. And I started demonstrating at the time, which was called the Stanley Party. And I would go into a lady's home, and what we would do, we would ask that lady to have a party where she would get her guests. And some of you probably have gone to Mary Kay or some of the newer ones that you recognize now, or Tupperware. But Stanley Home Products was one of the first companies so that did the party plan. It actually started in 1940 when men went off to the war. So they started selling the products by having ladies go into the homes and demonstrate, and it grew into a huge, huge business. I built my business, first of all, by always sharing with my hostess. If a hostess was having a Stanley party for me, and she had already gotten orders, I would say to her, if you would like, you can get the monies for this party. If you join the business, this belongs to you. And not only does this money belong to you, but I will work to help you to prosper in this business. And about 85% of them would say no, and some would even say, no, I just want my gift, because we would give them gifts. And I would say, well, the gift costs $20 and you've already earned 80. So tell me what you want. So when you put it that way, they would usually say, I want the $80. I started as a customer representative, and I ended that career in 2014 when they decided, no, I'm sorry, it was 2018 when they decided that they were going to go another route. And I ended that career as one of 12 region vice presidents in the country. My territory ran from Maine through Pennsylvania. So sometimes I would leave on Monday and wouldn't come back, but it was great. Uh, and it gave me the advantages of being able to grow up with my children, because I liked being able to go to these schools. I liked going to the PTA meetings. So I would schedule my own, uh, make my own schedule around their schedule. So that's how I started. And in 2008, I transitioned to travel because I have always loved to travel. And when I was with Stanley Home Products, whenever they put through a promotion where there was a trip involved, I would always win those trips. So I went to Hawaii about 45 years ago. I went to Spain about 48 years ago. So these are the kinds of things that I've done. And when somebody said to me, you like to travel, so why don't you get into the business? It just made sense. If
Right.
you are traveling, If you are doing something that you really enjoy, make it your business. In other words, make it your career. But what I'm doing now, and I got back into the country on March 13th, and I got back with 32 people from South Africa, Zimbabwe, and Botswana. And after that, we've been shut down. And while we're not traveling, and people are, some people are, but most are not traveling now, the industry is just raring for things to get going. So they put in all of these special plans how to keep people safe. The airlines have done something that they probably should have done years ago, where when you got into Angelo, you said you traveled a lot. So you know when you got on a plane, that air just circulated over and over. So if somebody on there
Hmm.
had something, you generally came home with what they had.
Hmm.
Well, the airlines are not doing that anymore. What they're actually doing is they're circulating the air out of the plane every 2 minutes. New air comes in to the plane. Ships, cruise ships are doing the same thing where they are having the exchanger where they are moving the air outside in spaces so that it is constantly being refreshed. So things are going to be different, but it is going to be absolutely wonderful. And I look for young people that I can help to get started in this business because I know that it is one of the largest industries in the world. While COVID has shut us down in the United States, it has actually shut down the economy in the world in so many places because some of them depend 100% on tourism to fuel their economy. So it is a wonderful, wonderful business to get involved in. If you like to travel and if you like people, then this is the business you want. I when I was training my group before, I said to people, I said, if you don't like people, get a job at the DMV. But if you like people, get a job, get something that you really enjoy and share it with others. So that's what I have done. I've taken groups all over. We did our 40th wedding anniversary, and we were in my brother's backyard. And I said to him, we're going on a Mediterranean cruise. And so one said, can we go? Can we go? Well, there are 14 people that went on our Mediterranean cruise, which meant that I went absolutely free and was able to collect commission on the other 12 people that was on the other 14 people that was on that cruise when I got back. So it just told me that this is a great business to be in. You get to travel, you get to get paid, you get to meet people all over the world. You get out of your neighborhood. And that's why I am constantly looking for young people in our neighborhood because so many of our children never get out of the neighborhood. And if they don't get out
Very
of the
true.
neighborhood, they tend to think that's all there is. And if they think that's all there is, then they get caught up in what's going on in the neighborhood. But if you can take them traveling, then they've got a window on what they can do, what they can achieve. So I am just constantly looking to train young people that not only are you going to be able to earn a lot of money and have a special career, but you're going to be able to help so many other people, not just children, but some adults never get out of their neighborhoods. And these are the things that hold us back as a race because we don't explore enough. And we have 3 children. We have 5 grandchildren and 2 great grandchildren. And we started traveling with our children when they were babies, and we continue to travel with them. And when our granddaughter The oldest one was 11 years old. We took her to South Africa with us, and it just changed the world for her. So she got involved in travel, and she did 2 semesters in China when she was in school. Now she's teaching at down in Chinatown, and still loves to travel. So it's just a great thing to do. Our oldest daughter is a registered nurse who traveled from the time she was tiny. We actually took her across country. We did across the country. We went the northern route, came back the southern route. So we've seen every state in the United States.
Well,
I
every
took
state.
every state.
What's
I
your
took,
favorite state?
I don't know. I can't say. I tell you, I love New York State in the fall because we've got
Mm,
the greatest trees. I don't know where do you live?
Connecticut.
Well, then you know what I mean.
Exactly.
Because
I
when
love the fall time.
it is the most magical time of the year for me. And we lived in Westchester County, in New York,
Mm.
and we would drive down the Springbrook Parkway because I had a brick and mortar in Mount Vernon, New York, and we would drive down the Bronx River Springbrook, and every season was magical because in the springs you saw things blooming, in the fall you saw the leaves, in the winter you saw the snow. So it was a special place for me. And I do love New York, but my favorite state, I don't know.
Wow. All 50 states. That I don't think I've ever been to all or even close. What are some of the states that surprised you that you thought you wouldn't enjoy that you enjoyed?
Well, I always travel with an open mind. So I don't go any place with a preconceived notion. Uh, I loved going to the Grand Canyons and to Yosemite. And I think one of the states that I particularly liked was Utah because driving through the desert on our way to someplace else was just, I mean, it was just magical. And it is just something that we need to do more of because when we do, we live better. We relate to people better. We just inspire others to do those things because it's magical to just travel. So, uh, and my daughter, the youngest, she is a social worker. She deals with the homeless children. And one day she took the kids because she is not because she's our daughter, but because she's just a very special person. She took the kids on a trip, and they went somewhere to a nature preserve. And this was on one of the holidays, maybe a Columbus Day or something. And she shared with me when she got back that they were coming down the Springbrook Parkway, and one of the little kids was so excited because he said to them, "We have never seen the ocean before." And that just, it was a brook. And that just tells me how much is needed, how we need to expose our children so that they know that the difference between an ocean and a brook. Because these children have just lived where they live their entire lives, and it just becomes a cycle. So that's why I am so passionate about young people getting in there, taking these children, showing them that there is so much out there. Because if you don't dream, you don't move. You've got to be able to dream. And what do you like to do, Angelo?
I'm a business as a business person. Um, I guess I mean I enjoy running like my company. I know everyone here like, oh, we're tired of hearing that. I do like traveling. On the side, I'm planning a snowboard, little like a snowboard cabin kind of thing. I'm gonna go snowboarding for like a little bit, like a weekend. Um, I just love doing activities. I guess that's why I'm a business owner, because it gives me the freedom to express myself in a bunch of different ways. Like, I enjoy doing this podcast.
Mhm.
Having a podcast would be something that I probably would do if I wasn't a business. It's like, oh, I'd want to try having a podcast. I'd want to try doing a YouTube. I'd want to try, all of these other things. And in a service-based business, at least in what I'm doing it in terms of my computer, I'm really offering all of my skill sets. And so because of that, I'm just able to do like what makes me happy, because I just like do I'm not so like I don't there's not a lot of things that I don't like to do in terms of like having fun. If it's an activity that I enjoy, like that's fun, I'm probably going to enjoy it. I like Scrabble.
Okay, great. Well, and you said that you're in your own business. This is key. And because I always say to people, if you have a job, you probably don't get excited about going to work on Monday, and you can't wait until Friday. But if you have something that you like doing and it is paying you, then that's not a job. That's a lifestyle. And I just don't think we've all been told, go to college, get a degree, and get a job. Other people are told, go to college, create your business, and hire others to do it. So this is what I have always stressed. And all of our children went to college. But they are all. And our son works in the industry in California, where he's a grip and he's a cameraman. And as I said, our youngest daughter, and he has traveled all over the world because he got used to traveling and he looked for a career where he could. And this is what he does. Our youngest daughter, who is the social worker, travels with her children all the time. When she was probably a year and a half, we started going to Maine, where we had a cabin on a lake. And for 12 years, we took them to Maine. And every year they were allowed to bring a friend with them. And it was just the greatest experience because they would leave in the morning and we would have to look for them because they had the boat on the lake and they would go uh, out looking and we would say, are they coming home to eat? But this is the kind of life that they grew up with. And we were able to share that life with some of the other children because uh, we took one of our neighbor's children who had never had a lobster. So we went to a place where the boats came in with the lobsters. And she saw where the lobsters came from. Then we took it home and we cooked the lobster. And it's these kind of experiences that grow children. And we have always taken children with us. If we were going someplace where we could take them with us on vacation, then we would. So if people are not, if it doesn't cost you a lot, take a child with you sometimes. Explore, take that child and let that child explore what you're exploring. Just help them a little bit because you never know what is going to make a difference in their lives. So it's great that you have your own business, and I am always encouraging get your own business. Don't depend on being 80. I grew up when there was total racism every place. and I grew up in the South, and I marched in some of the marches. So I know what it is, but we had our own businesses because we depended on one another. We had our own businesses, we had our own stores, we had our own doctors, we had different things. But when I tell people that integration was one of the things that kind of destroyed us, because so many of us were excited about being able to go to some other place that we hadn't been able to go to before, that we forgot and ours closed. In New York, and some of your listeners might know, it used to be a place called Peg Leg Bates. So people would go to Peg Leg Bates because they weren't welcome even in New York as some of the other places. But once the other places said, hey, come on in because they want the green, then people started going there, and Peg Leg Bates went out of business. There was another one that was in Pennsylvania, where that's where you could go and be comfortable. It was a club, sort of a resort. Well, that resort went out of business because we decided that we preferred to go to the ones that had more to offer. So we have been a consumer group of people. And and I am very pleased with what's happening with the young people, because so many of the younger ones are not going to be consumers, but they're going to create their own space, and they're going to have their own businesses. And I am always excited whenever I see a young person who has created his or her business and is working that business. But what I say to them, if you don't know what your business is, but you like to travel, get in touch, because I can tell you there is a huge amount of monies to be made in travel. I have one young woman who came into my shop when I was in my brick and mortar, and she came in and introduced herself, and she said, "You don't remember me, but I used to come to your house all the time, and I'm Ruben's friend." And she said, somebody told me that you are looking for folks who wanted to get in the travel industry. Well, she had been doing travel all along, but she wasn't getting paid to do it. So she came in, she got started 2017. 2018, she was averaging over $10,000 a month. 2019, she called me and told me she had quit her job. She was a nurse at eye, ear, nose, and throat, because she couldn't keep up with the amount of travel that was being demanded. She was earning in excess of $20,000 a month. Why? Because she's young, she's ambitious, and she's tech savvy. So if and she loved to travel. She was already doing it. So if you would fit that category, then you should be in the industry, because people are going to travel. They are going to travel. They can't wait to get out there. I can't wait to get out there again. But now you're saying you're putting together a little snowboarding or something?
Yeah, we're gonna be doing like a cabin trip soon, so it's just gonna be nothing major. I at least once a month, or am trying to once a month or every other month do a like a small weekend trip, 3 4 days, where I just kind of either stay at a hotel, go to like New York or to Massachusetts. And during the winter time, I'm not as active as I was last year. Like last year, I was really just in my office and doing business and everything. And so as I'm doing that, I'm just trying to say, okay, I got into this for the ability to be flexible. And so because I basically work from my laptop, I say, okay, if I go and do a full 10-hour day, like if I'm up at 6 o'clock in the morning and I'm start working at 6, and I do from 6 to 4, I can then go do a nice night run from say 5 to 10, and then be home and still have like time to get up and go to work in the morning and still continue doing my day. And so it's just that balance. As I wanted to ask you, actually, you, as we talked and as you've been talking, you've mentioned the need to go and see and venture out, but the also forgetting of base and where we come from. Where do you see the balance of going out and spreading, and we want to explore and still promoting self within our community?
Well, you see, the base is getting into your own business, not buying it. Stop being a consumer, but get into your own and get out of the neighborhood. Take the children out of the neighborhood. You know, New York City is fascinating. Uh, when our granddaughter, she lives there now. Well, she teaches school, but she lives there. But when she was growing up and our daughter took her to New York, she just was fascinated with it. And she would go and visit that huge library, you know, that's in New York City. And there's so much that is just outside of your neighborhood where people can go. It doesn't cost a lot of money. It is just getting out of your comfort zone, getting out of doing the same thing every day. I know that with the COVID, it has been extremely difficult for people to do things. And we want to be very careful because you and I know that this is not something that it should be ignored. And I see people just I've seen some, I've been really happy to see what some young folks are doing because things that they hadn't thought of creating a business, they are creating businesses out of it. And I'm sure you've seen some of them. So my goal would just get out of your comfort zone. Don't just settle. Don't settle for going to a job every day. It doesn't mean you should quit your job. I never advocate that to anybody. I say to people, start where you are. Keep your job, but work your career. Then let your career become your plan. Let your plan B then become your plan A because now you can quit that job. And you, when I started that uh, career with Stanley Home Products, I had a job, and at the time, I was earning 200 and about $48 a week, and that was a huge salary at that time. Uh, I was a customer service rep, but I started with Stanley Home Products, and everybody said to me, "Oh, I wouldn't quit my job. I wouldn't quit my job." But I didn't want to go to the same place every day. I didn't want to wait for my vacation time because when you're in a large corporation, then they look at it and the people with the most time get to choose their vacation first, and you're left with whatever's left. I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to have to take a 15-minute break. Somebody says to me, "You got a 15-minute break, you got a half an hour, uh, you got a half an hour lunch." I didn't want to do that. I wanted to explore. I wanted to do what I wanted to do. And when our son, and when I say we've been traveling with him, when our son was 5 weeks old, we went to Europe with him because my husband was working in a company that would send him to different places. He went to Switzerland, and we were there in the hotel, and every day I would get out with him and I would put him in his little pack on the front of my on my front, and we would get on the trains and we would get on the buses, and people would we were actually it was kind of strange because I had a big afro, and people would come up and touch my hair, and, and they weren't being mean. They just, you know, they weren't accustomed to it, and they would. just look at him and they would smile. And it was an experience that was just absolutely wonderful. And that's when I learned that, hey, guys, there's so much outside of where we are every day. Do it, explore, do things, but take somebody with you. Take somebody with you everywhere you go. And don't think that you have to do the business by yourself. Share. You are never going to lose. Everybody that travels with me, the first thing they say when they call me and say, I want to do so and so, I said, okay, great. But if you like, I can help you to do this and you can earn the monies yourself. And they're always surprised when I say that. Now, most of them don't take it on, but there are some that do take it on. And you don't have to be afraid of sharing, because I know I will never book all of the travel, just as I knew I would never sell all of the products. So if you can find something where you can get 10, 15, 20, or whatever number of people working with you, I can guarantee you that you will make 10, 15, or 20 times more than you would with your own two hands. Because we can only do so much with our own two hands. I was told years ago, help people to get what they need, and you will always get what you want. So if I help you to earn money, I'm going to earn more money. So, and that's the role I've always played in life. Help somebody else. Offer that first bit to somebody and say to them, listen, you can do this. I will help you, and help them. Listen, you can do this. I will help you, and help them, because we all need a helping hand. And we don't need to hold on to every dime. Let it go, because I read the book that about Sam Walmart, and I mean Walmart is one of the biggest industries around. But his idea was, I will take a dime for everything I sell, a 10-cent profit, whereas everybody else wanted a dollar, because he knew that if he sold enough products, he was going to always outsell the other person who wanted a dollar. And that's the way it is with people. If you work with people that way, then you will always get what you want. And that's how I did with Stanley Home Products. And that's how I do with my travel business. I always offer them the opportunity of getting into the business. And I just sold on getting young people in. I did a research on uh, disabled travel. And this one was another from my daughter, who's a travel agent, because she works with a young boy who has autism.
Mm.
And she said he's so bright, uh, but you have these problems where socially that he doesn't fit in, he doesn't meet the eyes. And so I did some research on them. There is a $267 billion in monies to be earned with taking kids that were spectrums on vacation, and adults also. And the travel industry is in the process of training airlines, where the airlines, the cruise ships are doing the same things. The resorts, the hotels are all training to have people come with autism. So that's what I've been trying to get somebody to understand, that this is something. If you like working with children, if you are a person who's working with people with disabilities, This is a great area to get involved in because there's lots of money to be made. But more important, there's lots of help to be given because while you're helping somebody, you're also earning. And I said, if you get a one person who was wanted to do this training, then think of how many parents have children that would want to join there. So there comes your partners. It can be a huge partnership. If you're a person that likes to do destination weddings, or if you've gone to a destination wedding, that's another one that is huge. I don't know if you've ever gone to one,
I have
but
not been to a wedding yet.
okay. Well, there are a lot of destination weddings going on. I've gone to a number of them myself. I haven't done them because there's a lot of work, and I'm too old to be doing that kind of work. But I have people who've done destination weddings, earned $20,000 for that one wedding. So destination weddings are a big business. All of these things are things that young people can do. And that's why I keep saying I'm looking for young people. So if you know some ambitious young people who want to take on something special, tell them I'm looking and I will work and share everything I've got with helping them to get going. And I work for a great company. I mean, it is one of the best companies uh, out here because these are people who are so ethical and people who are constantly trying to find ways of uh, helping us to earn more money. And the thing that about your own home-based business, because this is home-based, the tax advantages are just phenomenal. People are getting cell phones where they are paying $1,000 to get the cell phone, 100 or some dollars a month to maintain it. That's totally tax deductible. People are driving a car. Your car is tax deductible up to 12,000 miles a year at so much. Young folks who have children between the ages of 7 and 17 can have two of those children work for them in their home, and the tax deduction is $12,000 per child. The cable bill that everybody is paying can be a tax deduction because it has travel on it and
Hmm.
it has weather channel. That's tax deductible. Okay. There are 145 different tax deductions that you can have in a home-based business. With the Small Business Association, I'm sure you've heard that small businesses are about 70% of the economy of the United States. Well, when they did that first stimulus and they were giving out loans, I actually got a loan for as a small business. It was $2,800, wasn't a great deal of money. But the other day, I got a form to fill out because that loan has been forgiven because I am a small business. So these are the kinds of things that are available as small business owners. So when you travel, you've heard me say to people, don't take a vacation, go on a familiarization. Familiarization with me means that I'm traveling because I want to go and I want to come back and tell people that I've been there. That's how you write that off completely. 100% of your trip is written off because you're a travel advisor. So for the tax advantages alone, it's worth it to get into your own home-based business. Whether it's travel or anything else, I strongly encourage it. I've been doing it for 50 plus years.
Hmm. And before we have to get you off, what if you were to give, I normally ask for like a regular piece of business advice or something, but we've been doing a lot of travel talk. And as two travelers, what would be your one or your favorite travel tip that you would give to people listening?
Okay, my favorite travel tip is always do business with a travel agent. Why? Because they're always going to look out for you. When the COVID came, people were caught out people were caught in Europe and other places and could not get back for a long time because they booked online. We're in the habit of going on to the uh, book online, Travelocity, Expedia, Priceline, all of them. Great, but you will not have the protection that you need if something happens. You always want to go to a travel advisor because they are going to always have things in place so that if something like that happens, they're going to get you back home. For instance, I took a group to Egypt and Dubai. We had one person who got sick. She was on the plane. They came, took her off the plane, and one of the people who were traveling with her, of course, went with her. They kept her in the hospital overnight. Well, all I did was call the vendor that we did the trip with, and that vendor made certain that she was put back in a hotel until the next flight and brought her back to the US 3 days later. So, those are the reasons you want to use a travel advisor because you don't know what might happen. You know,
Right.
90% of the time you're going to be fine, but there's always that chance. And the other tip I would always give is always buy insurance because that will help you. If you are stuck someplace, you want them, and you don't want to end up in a hospital in some foreign country. You want to be able to get back to where you are comfortable, where the people speak the language. So that's why you buy travel insurance. So those are the two things that I would definitely suggest people do.
Oh, that's absolutely amazing. We love it. You have been an amazing guest. And as our second guest of the year, we thank you so much for joining the Ramblings.
I thank you.
Before you go, Ramblers, if you enjoyed today's podcast, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and make sure you're following me across all platforms at Assistance HQ. Catch up on exclusive content and keep track of everything going on at OffSource. See you in October.